Meeting is called to order. Let's all stand for flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can you read the statement of certification of the meeting?
The meeting has been advertised according to sunshine law.
You're unmuted. This computer's slow.
Mr. Venero, for some reason, it's really laggy with your audio.
Corinne, did you hear?
It says that your bandwidth
Please
is
call
low.
roll.
Okay. Venero. Chairman Venero. One minute, guys. We're gonna just wait for Ray to fix
All
it.
right, I'm going to try the computer. I'm sorry. Can you call a roll?
Chairman Venero. Okay, he's here. Mayor Melham. Mr. Zangari.
Here.
Mr. Conti.
Here.
Here.
Mr. Banda.
Here.
Mr. Bove.
Here.
Mr. Corbo.
Here.
Mr. Graziano. Okay, I don't believe he's here. Ms.
He's here.
Guam.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Mr. Graziano is here. Ms.
I'm
Guam.
here too.
Okay, great. Ms. Rico is not here. Ms. Inaugurato is not here. Mr. Guyen's.
I'm here.
Mr. DiLorenzo.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Present.
And Ms. DeVito.
Here.
Okay, for the record, I have Mayor Melham, Ms. Rico, Ms. Inaugurato out, and Mr. Corbo is or is not here.
Right there. Other way.
Right. I'm unmuted. Corinne, can you hear me better now?
A lot better, Ray, yes.
Thank you.
All right, I think I got everybody except Gerard Corbo. Is he here? All right, we're gonna just mark him not present. All right, we got it. Continue, please.
All right. Application before the board. We have PB 2019-522-554 Cortlandt Street, block 9802, lot 1. The applicant is Cortlandt Holdings LLC, has proposed a subdivision of the interior of the building into 10 residential rental suites for the purpose of commercial and semi-industrial use operations. Is the applicant ready?
Yes.
Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Venero, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It is my privilege, as always, to appear before the Belleville Planning Board with the presentation of a project. Tonight, I'm particularly pleased to present to you my client, not for the first time, Mr. Fred Stern, the managing member and sole proprietor of Cortlandt Holdings LLC. He's not a stranger to Belleville. Before I get into that, for the board members who might not know me, I'm Marina Perna. I'm the attorney for the applicant. And I've been practicing for 25 years. My offices are in Nutley. And again, very pleased to be here tonight to present this fantastic project. As I was saying, Mr. Stern is no stranger to Belleville. He came to the Cortlandt Street Valley area in 2015. And he purchased a property known as 221-249, where he operates the business. He transferred his company from Brooklyn, where he was doing business for a long time, and decided to do business in Belleville. And he was so happy in the Valley that now he purchased another building. And tonight we are here to present this application with the experts that have put together this application, Mr. Robert Cozzarelli, the architect, and Mr. Dawson Bloom, the engineer. And we would like to take you through this application so that you can understand it fully, as the client would like for you to understand it, and also to answer any questions that you might have. Mr. Stern is a respectable member of the business community, and now he's also the proud owner of this property, and we're very pleased again. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my first expert, Mr. Robert Cozzarelli.
Hi, Robert. If you'll raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and business address for the record.
My name is Robert Cozzarelli. That's Cozzarelli. The business address is 187 Washington Avenue, Nutley, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Mr. Cozzarelli, please give the board the benefit of your professional history, just for those
Yes.
members who might not be familiar with you.
Yes, thank you. I've been a licensed architect. Well, I graduated in NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology, Bachelor of Architecture in 1979. It's like 40 years ago. And I say time flies. I've testified before many boards over those years. And most presently, I've served on the State Board of Architects, which is an appointment by the governor for a 5-year appointment. I'm proud to say my colleagues put my name forward to the governor for that appointment. I've been elevated to fellow of the American Institute of Architects, which represents about 100,000 members. Only 3% are classified as fellow. I've also been president of AIA New Jersey, which is the American Institute of Architects, for the state, and I've also served as regional director on the national level.
We'll accept you as an expert, Mr. Cozzarelli.
All right,
We'll
thank
accept
you.
you as an expert.
I really appreciate that. It's nice. It's nice to be back talking to the board here at Belleville Board.
Yes, many times you've been in front of us.
Let me begin by saying that we received the letters from Mr. Herritz and Mr. DiLorenzo, the reports outlining what the project's about, what they're looking for. I may just start off by saying that I spoke to our client, Mr. Stern, the owner of Cortlandt Holdings LLC, and he has no issues or comments about anything on there. So I don't think there's going to be any issue about fulfilling any of those points that were brought out. That's important to know from the get-go. As you heard, the application is to subdivide the interior of an existing industrial building into 10 rental suites. The existing building Let me say the existing site is known as Block 9802, Lot 1. The address is 522-554 Cortlandt Street. The lot area is 131,686 square feet. So it's basically, it's a little over 3 acres, 3.02 acres. The building footprint is 80,955 square feet. And I want to emphasize that that footprint will remain the same. We have no intention of increasing or expanding, the building. Everything that we're talking about will be all interior alterations. The zone is identified as a VB1, Valley Business 1, in the Belleville zoning ordinance, chapter 23, specifically, if we look at 23-7.12 of the zoning code, which states uses permitted within the zone containing the characteristics of both traditional commercial and semi-industrial operations. It continues to state that such uses include but are not limited to artisanal manufacturing, research and development, opportunities for demonstration projects, craft manufacturing, and light fabrication. It is these permitted uses that will occupy this building. We will stay within, Mr. Stern will stay within the requirements of the zone while finding tenants. There was a question about a brief history. The brief history that I'm aware of, and I've done a little bit of research, is that in 1941, two brothers, Jack and Hy Siegel, founded a business called National Lighting, which was once known, I believe, as Worker Light. The president of that business today is a gentleman called Warren Siegel, who still occupies this building. Warren Siegel is a client of mine, and he had mentioned one day that he was interested in selling the property. And I networked a meeting with the current owner, Mr. Stern, and Mr. Siegel to meet. And lo and behold, that's how you have the new owner of this property, Fred Stern. Fred is my client, is a client of mine as well. And we've worked on several other projects of this kind, renovating older industrial buildings that most people would not consider, but this is Mr. Stern's expertise. Taking older industrial sites and cleaning the properties through ordinary maintenance and typically minor work, making the buildings viable, clean, and attractive for use as permitted within the zones where the buildings are located. When Mr. Stern acquired, when he acquires a building, he immediately cleans the interior, removes any antiquated or abandoned systems such as old steam lines. Buildings like this are notorious for telephone equipment that's just been abandoned, lighting, etc. And he goes through a process of patching floors that require concrete, but immediately starts to paint the walls, floors, ceilings, and just makes an immediate impact on the building, turning it around, incredibly. The drawings that are presented tonight are drawing A001 and A100. Drawing A001 is composed of an aerial map, an existing floor plan, a key plan, an area schedule, and construction information and general notes. The key plan has identified the proposed interior alteration for the 10 suites, and the area schedule explains the proposed square footage for each of those 10 suites. As Mr. Stern and I studied the building to figure out the location of the suites, we realized the building had several different additions that were added throughout the years that created the 80,955 square foot building. That's the footprint. We also took into consideration Mr. Stern's history of what sizes areas typically rent or rentable, for buildings like this. So we crafted out the 10 areas as shown on drawing A100.
Okay.
Also, it should be noted that each area has its point of entrance, and each area is proposed to have its own restroom and office. The darker shaded walls, if you look at drawing A100 plan, the proposed new are the proposed new partitions. As you can see, there are not a lot of new partitions. We used many of the existing walls and designed the 10 suites with minimal alterations. The original building is comprised, I'm going back from when the first building was, when this building was first built. It's comprised of the areas that are known as today as suites 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This part of the building was built with beautiful 3 wide brick walls and wood timber trusses. For an architect, it's absolutely impressive because the trusses are sitting on corbelled bricks. It's absolutely beautiful, and you don't see it anymore. You know, suites 6 and 7 came years later and were constructed of concrete block and steel beams and open web steel joists and dock plank. Again, that's typical. You can still see that today. In suites 8, 9, and 10 was the final addition to the building. In that part of the building is very traditional of what you see in industrial type construction today. The entire building, and this is impressive too, is a fire suppression system. It's sprinklered, as well as the required exiting and emergency lighting. So it's a building that's being kept up to date in life safety, and we're on to continue to keep that aspect of the building intact and improve upon that. All intended interior renovations and alterations and minor work will be designed to the current codes and standards of the New Jersey Uniform Construction Code and the International Building Code, as well as all the other applicable codes and standards. In this case, probably such as the New Jersey Rehab Code. And obviously, one is the ADA, the American Standard for Accessible Design. The exterior of the building will be painted and repaired as necessary, including a new roofing. The proposed 10 interior subdivisions really make a perfect design sense for this building and will give this building, as I said, a viable and continued productive future. Personally, I'm excited about this project because yes, it's an industrial building. It's not the most glorious type of architecture, but it's important to the community. And we have a gentleman here that's had a history, like I said, of working on buildings like this. Is on Cortlandt Street as well, up the road. What's the address?
Here, it's 221.
221-249 Cortlandt. That's another property similar in nature to what we're doing here that Mr. Stern has, owns. So we have a history with this gentleman and the type of work that he likes to do to buildings like this. So I believe Belleville is very fortunate, to have this gentleman working on our buildings that some people would say, I don't want to have anything to do with it. He looks at it as something that is viable and good and, is a good choice. But with that, I'd like to say thank you. And do you have any questions? Marina?
I'd like to offer Mr. Cosarelli to the board for any questioning at this time.
Mr. Cosarelli, each suite or each unit is going to have its own separate entrance, correct?
Yes.
And the bathrooms are all up to Americans with Disability Act.
Bathrooms are all, I'm sorry, Mr. Grenier, the bathrooms are all going to be brand new. And there's going to be a small office as well as part of that. So most definitely they will be part of the ADA.
Great.
Requirements. Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other board members have questions of this witness? Any board members? If no board members have any questions, does anybody in the public have a question? Tom, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you if it's okay. How you doing, Mr. Cosarelli? Tommy Graziano.
Hi, Tom.
Coming in from, let me see, where am I at? On Cortlandt side. the driveway coming in. And I know it's a concrete building, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Right, so God forbid, I mean, and I know you heard the great fire suppression. What's the width of that driveway for a fire truck to get in if had to come in?
We're gonna have the engineer comment on the site, entrance ways and circulation within the lot. He'll be glad to, Mr. Dawson Bloom will describe all that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other board members have a question for Mr. Cosarelli? If no other board members have a question, is there anybody in the public that has a question for this witness? If not, Ms. Perna, do you want to proceed?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cosarelli.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to present our second expert, Mr. Dawson Bloom. He's our expert engineer. Mr. Bloom, are you?
Excuse me, Chris Kondrak had raised his hand.
Yeah, I was having trouble getting the mic to work. The entrances you're talking about, Kaz, the individual entrances, where are they going to be located?
You're gonna have, if you look at drawing A100, I don't know if you have the drawing.
I don't have any drawings now.
Okay, what we did is, on that drawing A100, we explained the entrances to each of these suites. Right, so you can actually enter from the parking lot side. Well, everything's from the parking lot side.
Nothing's going to be from the Stevens Street side.
No.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you.
Just all in parking lot.
Thank you, Mr. Cosarelli again. All right, Mr. Bloom.
Yes.
All right. For the benefit of the board members that are not familiar with you or the newer members, would you mind, please give us a benefit of your professional background?
Sure.
I have to swear you in first.
Certainly.
If you'll raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Sure. Dawson Bloom, BLOOM, McLaren Engineering, 530 Chestnut Ridge Road in Woodcliff Lake, New Jersey.
Thank you, Mr. Bloom. Would you kindly take the board members through the project? Thank you.
Sure. I'll take a couple seconds, qualify myself. I'm a graduate of NJIT, 1992. I have both bachelor's and master's degrees from NJIT in civil engineering. I've been practicing 28 years. I've been licensed for 24 of those years. My license is in good standing and current in the state of New Jersey. I've appeared both before the Belleville Planning Board on a number of occasions and upwards of 20 other planning and zoning boards throughout the state of New Jersey. We'll accept you as a witness in engineering, Mr. Bloom. Thank you. So as Mr. Cosarelli indicated, the site improvements for the project are, in relatively minor. In this case, I'll generally walk through them and then, certainly answer any questions that the board may have. So the overall improvements include a milling and paving of the existing parking area, which is in the southeast corner of the property, which is the main parking lot. There's another driveway area to the north side of the property, which will also be milled and paved. The parking lot will be restriped. It will accommodate 60 parking spaces. Based upon the required parking calculations for the property requires 54. So we're providing an additional 6 spaces above what is currently required. Additionally, there are some areas in the furthest southeast corner of the property which would be available for snow removal during the winter months. That would be outside of that parking area, as well as the northeastern portion of the site. So there is sufficient area within the site for snow and winter maintenance as well. We're also providing a new 6-foot-high aluminum fence surrounding the parking area, as well as the 2 gated entrances for the, excuse me, for the
driveway on the north side. In addition, we're providing some low-level, fairly hardy landscaping along the fence of the Stevens Street side of the parking area, as well as providing lighting for the parking spaces as well. That would be accomplished through 4 wall packs and 1 vertical light pole in the center of the parking lot. That would stand about 20 feet high and would include 2 LED luminaires. The proposed lighting provides just under a foot candle of lighting, which I think for this application is more than appropriate. To answer Mr. Graziano's question, the driveway entrance to the parking lot, that width is 24 feet wide, which is standard for a 2-way entrance and exit, and is more than sufficient for any emergency vehicles or fire trucks that would need to be able to access the site, as well as all the frontage along both Stevens and Street.
Thank you, Dawson.
Yes, and in addition, there again, there's I think as Mr. Cosarelli mentioned, there's a pre-existing side yard setback that it will be unaffected or unimproved. We're not making any additions to the property outside of the minor site improvements. All the other improvements are interior to the building. There will be 4 loading spaces that are identified. Those are identified on the plans. There is a variance required because the code does require 9. In this case, we believe that the 4 are more than appropriate based on how Mr. Cosarelli has laid out the interior property, and as well as how the various units are intended to work. Based on the conversations with the property owner, these are going to be units that are generally, they're considered light manufacturing, but there really isn't manufacturing going on. They're going to be packaging materials. So they're going to be bringing in goods from the outside, packaging them and generally reselling them. So there won't be any production type work, as far as I understand, going on in the building that would create any hazardous materials or odors or excessive noise. The deliveries, I believe the average about 3 to 5 employees per unit, depending on the size of the company. So if on average of 4 out of 10, so that would be about 40 employees that would be parking within the lot. Visitors are expected to be at a minimum. These are not retail spaces. So we would not expect a significant number of visitors. And generally speaking, there would be about 1 to 2 deliveries a day per unit, typically to deliver or pick up materials for that site. So it's a very short turnaround time. And, if you assume that, that frequent level of frequency and the size and circulation of the parking lot, we believe there's more than enough sufficient room, space and available time to schedule and maintain a nice spacing on those deliveries. We would never anticipate there would be any backups or any congestion on the street caused by an excess number of deliveries. Those deliveries would typically be by box truck at the largest. So we're not anticipating any large tractor trailers having to get in and out of the site. From a circulation standpoint for fire trucks, we believe that there's more than sufficient circulation for both fire trucks and emergency vehicles within the parking lot and around the site as well. I think I've pretty much covered everything on my end. If I certainly missed anything, I'll be happy to answer any further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Bloom, I had a question. If we're going to have 10 tenants, 4 loading docks, how are loading docks to be shared or used?
I think, as I indicated, the loading is going to be intermittent throughout the day. So, and the owner had told me that they do make sure they schedule their deliveries and they coordinate them among the companies. So We certainly wouldn't anticipate there being much, if at all, overlap between the various deliveries for the tenants. So we think the 4 to accommodate the 10 is more than sufficient. And with everybody having exterior access to the parking lot, there's certainly availability to get out and get their deliveries back into their own space.
Very good. Any other members of the board have questions for Mr. Bloom?
Lawrence Guines, I have a quick one. Could you just tell me where the dumpsters are going to be located?
We did not indicate that here. They certainly, a dumpster could be either located in the far right corner or preferably what would, in the north, what would be the northeast corner of the parking lot. Or it could certainly be, which would be the most advantageous because all the access to that, to the building is out to the parking lot.
Well, I was just wondering if you're going to lose a parking spot somehow doing it.
No, not at all. There's more than sufficient space, particularly up in that northeast corner of the lot where we don't anticipate any parking, where you could easily fit, really relatively any size dumpster.
Thank you.
Any other board members have a question for this witness? If no other board members have questions, is there anyone in the public that has a question for Mr. Bloom?
Yes, Mr. Condrek does.
Go ahead, Mr. Condrat.
Dawson, you were talking about were you the one talking about the lighting on the parking lot property?
Yes.
My question is this. Obviously, you've seen this signature gym down here, which is 3 blocks away from me, and the lights from that place shine in my windows. We just got the lights on this old hockey rink right behind my house. We just got those lights shut down. And now we have a new building getting renovated, which you guys been working on for quite a while now. The lighting in this parking lot, is it going to stay within the boundaries of the building?
Yeah.
And so we don't have to deal with it. We like our privacy down here. We only have 3 houses and we like it nice and dark and quiet. And we don't want it to be daylight like Signature Gym.
No, these are low-level LEDs. They're all down-facing, so they're not floodlights. And so all of the light will be on the property. We made sure that was one of the provisions in discussing with Mr. Hertz, and it's really part of the code, that there really is no spillover into any of the adjacent properties.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else in the public have a question of this witness? If no one else in the public has a question, Ms. Perna, do you want to proceed?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say that, first of all, I want to thank the board for granting us the opportunity for this special meeting. Mr. Stern is present. If I didn't count him in, I just want to show you that he's right here, and he says hello to everyone on the board, and he was happy to make this application.
Very good.
If the board has no further questions, I'd like to sum up.
Sure.
Sure. So we've taken you through the project via Mr. Cosarelli and via Mr. Bloom, and you've had the opportunity to see and hear about the history of this site, which was explained, the current situation in market in terms of what is rentable. I respectfully submit to you that Mr. Stern's proposed project and the layout of the 10 suites is perfectly situated for the VB1 zone. The type of the architecture, also the total fire suppression system, the compliance to the code, the willingness to make it ADA compliant, the exterior renovations, the lighting, the gated entrances, the new paved parking lot, all of these items lend themselves towards the approval of this project for the Valley area, especially for that corner on Cortlandt Street. So without further ado, again, I thank you, and I would respectfully submit and request your granting in favor of this project.
Thank you. Before we call a vote, is there anybody in the public that has a comment before we close the public portion?
Federal judges were extremely disappointing. They had huge numbers of affidavits and evidence in front of them, and yet both the trial judge and the circuit court said.
I guess we're getting some feedback from somebody, but if there's no one in the public that has a comment, Would someone like to make a motion for the approval of this project with the acceptance of Mr. Di Lorenzo's report? And I'd like to also make a condition, the painting of the exterior of the building. So with those two, the two things, painting the exterior and the acceptance of Mr. Di Lorenzo's report.
Ray,
Yes,
Ray?
Mike.
Yeah, the Tommy's report too, we should adopt.
And Mr. Di Lorenzo's report. So
And Tommy Harrod's report.
Mr. Tom Harrod's report, Mr. Di Lorenzo's report, and painting the exterior of the building. So those three conditions. Someone make a motion?
This is a Ray, also, just so that you know that there's two bulk variances, they're pre-existing that you're approving, and the variance for the parking stalls.
Yes, thank you, Tom. One of the members like to make a motion?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Chairman Venero,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Banda,
Yes.
Mr. Bove,
Yes.
Mr. Graziano,
Yes.
Ms. Guaman,
Yes.
Mr. Zangari,
Yes.
Mr. Guyen's.
Yes.
All in favor, approved.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
I'd just like to say too, that we'd like to see it in the valley that this property is staying, commercial, and not that we're making everything residential. It's a commercial area, and we'd like to see it kept that way, and we wish you good luck.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
thank
much.
you.
Be a nice improvement to that corner.
Yes. And I just want to thank our members too. We've been really busy with special meetings and regular meetings, and I just want to thank all our members and everyone involved for their hard work. And if someone would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion,
I'll second.
second it.
Meeting is adjourned.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Di
Thank
Lorenzo, Mr. Harrison, all the board members, thank you.
Good
Appreciate it.
luck.
Good night, Marina.
Night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Night.
Good night, everybody.